Welcome to Sir Lancelot's Real Estate Roundtable, your guide to mastering the realm of real estate in Central East Florida. I am Sir Lancelot Lenard, ready to uncover the secrets of seller strategies, home staging, mortgage mastery, and more. From Daytona Beach to Cocoa Beach, Lake County to St. Augustine, join me as we navigate the intricacies of real estate. As the leader of the Sir Lancelot Group at Florida Homes Realty and Mortgage, I'm here to arm you with knowledge and innovation, whether you're a seasoned homeowner or a first-time buyer, unveiling the kingdom of real estate, one roundtable at a time. On today's episode of the Real Estate Roundtable, we're pulling back the curtain on one of the most overlooked but absolutely critical parts of real estate investing, tenant screening. And who better to guide us than Marc Hurwitz, founder of Investigations and one of the top private investigators in the game. Marc isn't just a background checker. He's the real-life Sherlock Holmes of the rental world, helping property owners, real estate agents, and investors avoid nightmare tenants before the ink even dries on the lease. From the legalities of tenant screening to the secret hidden in background reports, Marc brings the facts, the stories, and the tools every landlord and agent needs to protect their property and peace of mind. Marc, how did you get into investigations, and why is tenant screening so essential today?
Well, Lancelot, thanks so much for having me. First of all, I'm really excited to be here. Yeah, I used to be in government for many years. I was in the White House for 3 years, CIA for 8 years. And when I left government, I just started working for my old bosses, these chiefs of stations who had retired, doing due diligence, consulting work in DC. They taught me the commercial tools of the trade, started networking here in South Florida. Lawyers started asking me for information. And after a while, I finally admitted I was a private investigator.
That is awesome. Marc, you've built an incredible business in the world of investigation. What first pulled you into this field?
I like finding out information. I like helping good guys win over the bad guys, which is what we do, because with information, you're always on the right side. And I like being involved in my community. The opportunity to be engaged with the local business and legal community and help them was very attractive to me.
That's awesome, man. And I like helping good guys too. It's just a good thing. I'm an Eagle Scout, so it's one of those things that we do. So when did you realize there was real need for professional tenant screening in the real estate world?
It's a great question. And this really goes to the crux of the matter about tenant screening in general. There are many ways to background check somebody. However, there is only one way to do it when you're doing tenant or employee screening, and that is under the Fair Credit Reporting Act, FCRA. Regardless whether you're pulling credit or not, FCRA applies. There are many databases available to the public and to private investigators that offer background reports that are not FCRA compliant. Many investigators use those reports to do tenant screening for their clients, and they're putting their clients at great legal risk. So we are a full-service private investigation agency. We do many things, which I know we'll talk about later. But we wanted to offer our clients a legal solution to their challenge of tenant screening. And that's how we got into it. We kept up being asked for it, and we wanted to do it the right way, as we do everything in our company. We do it the right way according to the law.
Great. So let's open up the can of worms here a little bit. You said you guys do a lot of other things. What are those other things? And what could be really useful for my listeners, investors, landlords, even agents?
Yeah, I speak a lot, and one of the presentations I give is vetting people, a former CIA officer's guide to vetting people in your life, from babysitters to business partners. And I'm certainly willing to do that for any of your listeners. We do so many things. Of course, as private investigators, we do surveillance. So we will follow people for many reasons, but the two main reasons are insurance defense. So if someone says that they got hurt at a store, we'll follow them to see if they're really hurt. And of course, for infidelity. We find people, we call that skip tracing in our industry, people who have skipped town, they don't want to be found. We're very good at that. We find assets, we find bank accounts. We can even tell you sometimes how much money someone has in the bank, which is great for pre-judgment or post-judgment collection. We do research for business on business partners, mergers and acquisitions, potential romantic partners. We do jury vetting. We do international investigations. We do next of kin searches. Any hard to find information anywhere in the world, we can help with.
That's awesome. That's pretty wide range
Yeah.
of things you do. It just this keeps bugging me a little bit. CIA, man, come on. You gotta talk a little bit about that. How was that? What was if you
Oh,
can, and what you
I,
can. I
I
don't know how
really,
much you can.
I really cannot. I really cannot. Although I did a lot of counterterrorism work, I'm very proud of the work that we did. And I'll just say that there are many unsung heroes and unsung victories.
Yeah, those stars without names, they speak for that, I think.
There's a great book called Wall of Honor, which discusses all the unclassified stories of the stars in the wall. It's a great
Wow.
book.
Wow. It's just fascinating. I have an ex-CIA agent that I'm interviewing here. I think this is always it's just amazing. Let's get back on track a little bit to our real estate stuff. For those unfamiliar, why is tenant screening more than just pulling a credit score?
An FCRA background report, you're checking for a number of things. First of all, you're checking for criminal history. That's probably, other than credit, the most important thing. Have they been arrested or convicted of assaults? Any violent crimes? Is there a trend of DUIs? These are things you need to know. And of course, you need to check credit. Not only the credit score, but what's going on with other lines of credit? Is everything in collection? Is their credit score bad because they have a medical, unpaid medical? We need to look at the context. So that's very important. You can also add on things like liens, bankruptcies, evictions. If you're looking at a potential high risk tenant, you may want to know that going in advance. But I do want to talk about what is an FCRA report compared to any other background report that you may be able to pull off the internet or from a private investigator. An FCRA report requires consent by the subject. This is the most important thing because the subject has a right to see the report used to make the decision. If you present to them a non-FCRA report, they can sue you. So that's critical. There are a ton of laws regarding FCRA, including even font size. It has to have the name and contact information of the reporting agency. So if they see a mistake on the report, they know who they can reach out to. It's going to show only convictions. So if someone has been arrested and they get into pretrial diversion or the case gets dismissed, that is not supposed to show on a FCRA report. Bankruptcies are only going to go back 10 years on an FCRA report. Criminal convictions only go back 7 years. So these are some of the things that dictate what's included in an FCRA background report, which, by the way, also makes it for a less expensive report than other types of background reports.
Okay. That's an interesting kind of reports. In my world where I've been around tenant reports or Zillow pulling, blah, 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 all these things do you happen to know if any of those function as what you were talking about?
No, I don't. I've never seen a
Competition.
Zillow background report. We developed this for our clients because they asked us for it. We have a license into a system. It's automated on their ends with their candidates. Once we get it, we review it and summarize it for our clients. It's part of our white glove service. It's part of our core values of our company.
Mhm.
So we're not just giving you a report and letting you figure out how to read it. We read it for you and tell you what you're looking at.
Okay. Yeah, the credit report could be really mumbo jumbo a lot of
Yeah.
times.
Even a
I know that.
criminal background report is hard to read if you don't know what you're looking at.
True.
And the FCRA report is also going to show an address history, and that you can check for veracity. Does it match up with what they wrote on their application, or did they leave off an address, and why?
There's a golden nugget for you guys. That one right there. If they left off an address, for what reason would they leave off an address
Sure.
in their application form compared to their background check? That is a good one.
I'll give you another golden nugget for your listeners. I suggest that when you have a candidate and you tell them we're going to run a background report, first ask, is that okay? And see what they say. If they say no, that's a big problem. I suggest asking, is there anything that's going to show up on the report that you want to get ahead of? This does a few things. First of all, you're checking for truthfulness. Yeah, I got arrested for a DUI 4 years ago. It's going to show, okay, it shows in the report, at least they were upfront about it. Or they don't say it, and then they're trying to hide something from you, and it comes up. And even if it's minor, why do they hide it? Why do they not get in front of it? Their demeanor when they answer these questions, also huge potential flags. How a person responds to the fact that they're going to be background checked can be very telling.
Definitely. I agree with you. I have ran into that not once. Luckily, most recently, most of the tenants that I've been helping out with my landlords or helping my landlords get tenants, they were all upfront about issues that they had in the past. This is going to come up on my profile. I just want to tell you, and I didn't even have to ask. They're upfront telling me about it. I hope you're okay with it because they don't want to. I've noticed a lot of tenants because we work with a lot of Section 8 tenants. They don't want to spend the money on an application if they know that they wouldn't pass a background check. So they're a lot of times really upfront about what's on their background, if that's okay for the landlord or not. And a lot of times it's really like misdemeanors, red lights, stuff like that. I'm like, didn't show up in court for XYZ reason. They all have 3, 4 kids. I'm like, we could look past a lot of those things if it's not major. If it's financial, no go. If it's violent, that's probably a no go. But if it's something minuscule, tell us about. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to add that sometimes they will volunteer information that for whatever reason may not show on the background report.
Yeah.
That the case was dismissed or that was over 7 years ago. But if they volunteer information, it's fair game.
Yeah, definitely. I had that happen. Yeah. Most recently, we had a tenant that had told us that I had an eviction started, but it never went to fruition because I was paying the rent to court. She was telling me that it might show up because it was put in to court. The wife did it. The husband didn't want to evict them or anything, but it was a complicated story. It's a lady with 5 kids, and she lived in the back part of the house that the husband found a new wife, basically, and the wife didn't like another woman living there. She wanted to get rid of her. It was insane. I'm like, that does not sound right. Any kind of shape or form. You were under a perfect lease. You were paying your rent. You had no issues. You shouldn't have been filed for eviction for no reason. But tell us about a time when your screening saved a landlord from a major headache.
Oh, there's countless. Look, we live in South Florida. So I live in South Florida. And I always say, and it's not just a Miami or South Florida thing. I think this is a Florida thing. And I think you would agree, Lancelot, that Florida is a sunny place for shady people. So and I'm sure you have seen it all. It is actually pretty unusual to see a clean background report on somebody. People of all types of things. And like you said, it could be very minor. It could be a boat registration that was expired. It could be a speeding ticket, but we see bankruptcies. And a bankruptcy in 2010, everyone was underwater in 2010, but are they declaring bankruptcy every 7 years, which is allowed, or was it a one-time thing? We see violence. We've seen many violent crimes come across, assaults. Do you want someone who was arrested and convicted last year of assault in a multi-unit apartment building? And then what happens if they assault somebody? Your other tenants could potentially sue you if you put someone dangerous in there next to them. So you have to be very careful. What else have we seen? Terrible credit, of course, everything in collection, every single trade line in collection, not just a one-off. So it goes to financial stability and judgment. Look, when in CIA, when you recruit somebody, when you recruit a spy, you're doing it based off of motivations and vulnerabilities. When someone is vulnerable, they're motivated to do something they wouldn't otherwise do. So if you have a tenant that comes in that looks stellar, that's great on paper, at least at the beginning, but all of their credit cards are in collection, they're financially vulnerable. They're going to not pay you. They're not motivated to. They don't have any money. Have they been evicted before? We've seen that a lot of times. Why would you want to take someone in who's been evicted the last 3 places that they've lived? This goes on.
Oh, for sure. I have actually just interviewed an attorney that does legal protection for landlords by building trusts, et cetera, et cetera. And he had a story for me about a doctor, rich doctor, owning a property in New Jersey, but working in California. And he put a tenant in there that was, he didn't know, but it was a gang member.
Oh,
And there was a party and there was altercation and someone got shot and killed. And they're suing the doctor because he's the only one with the money. So he basically, you have to do it preemptively to protect your assets. But it's a perfect example. If you would have had a person like yourself doing a background check, probably, or how did you call it when you follow people around? Or
surveillance.
yes, you probably don't want to do that with a tenant, but come on, if it throws up a red flag, they're having a lot of parties over there and you hear about it from the neighbors or someone calls you like, hey, there's a lot of parties over here. I'm not sure. There's always a lot of guys with shady looking figures. You want to
Yeah,
do something about that maybe. And okay, how do we prevent future issues?
maybe we have to run the tags of the vehicles that are frequenting the premises and check the criminal histories of the registrants of those vehicles.
Yeah.
We certainly do that for co-parenting situations. So I could see a scenario where that would happen. Sure.
Yeah. You could have saved a lot of headaches there for that landlord. You probably want to connect with them. What's one of the craziest things you've uncovered during a tenant background check, if you may,
Oh,
without names? Just
I think it would have to be either we've seen sexual assault before. We've also seen registered sexual predators. So those are flashing red lights. So that would be the craziest things that we've seen that have come up.
so sexual predators, you'd put that in category A of, oh no, red flag. Do not rent to these people. They're definitely not rent. How do you call it? Tenant material. What kind of red flags often go unnoticed until it's too late?
Every landlord has their own risk profile for what they're willing to tolerate. Sometimes they just look at the FICO score and they have in their head a number that's going to be acceptable to them. Forget how many trade lines are in collection. If the subject is above a certain number, that's up to them. So sometimes they will not look at the credit report, they just look at the credit number. Sometimes people will overlook trends in criminal history. I'm trying to think of a good example. Maybe someone who had an assault 1 year ago, worthless check 3 years ago, unregistered weapon 5 years ago, ongoing problems in their lives. Those are extreme examples, but that can be overlooked. Not comparing, like we talked about, the address history to the address history written down in the application, because the address history comes up automatically in the report. So that's another thing. Those are off the top of my head, some of the things I've seen overlooked.
I mean, that definitely the consistent issue is a problem. Like you said, with the gun 5 years ago, then a default check, et cetera, et cetera. There is a systematic sort of behavior in a way for that human being is that he's not following up with what he's supposed to be doing, kind of according to how do you live in this world. This is our rules. This is how we live. So you can follow them or not. If you're trying to follow them, then you probably get a rental. If you don't follow them, you probably won't get a rental because you're just, how do you say it with a nice word? A delinquent? That's not a nice word, but that's delinquency is like the right term for it as a tenant. And you don't want to have a delinquent tenant because how is he going to treat your property then?
Sure.
Even if he's pays his rent on time and everything's good with that part, but after 3 years or 2 years, he moves out and you get in there and you're like, holy cow, I have to change all the doors, all the trim, and now your 2 years worth of rent goes away like that just to renovate the property.
And you know, that's a great segue into what happens next.
Yeah.
Your tenant leaves, they've trashed the place, you need to sue them or at least contact them to get payments, and you can't find them because sometimes these renters are transients and they're hard to find. So that's when the skip tracing comes in to find their contact information, find their addresses, Maybe we have to talk to their relatives. Maybe we have to talk to their employers. Maybe we have to search for utility bills, vehicle registrations, voter registrations, social media. So all kinds of ways we have to find people after the fact.
Oh, for sure. Most of the time, this is what a landlord does. And I know from my own experience is we'll just swallow the bullet and fix up the place and let it go because it's less of a headache. But when you're talking about a bigger place, a nicer place, maybe a 4-bedroom, 2-bath instead of a 1-1, where a renovation is not a couple grand, but you're getting into $5,000, $10,000. Now you're looking at, okay, that's major money to just let go. And finding the person and actually being able to pursue it in a court, there's a possibility you're never going to see that money, but there is a possibility if you're going to see the money, it's worth the $300 that it's going to cost you in small claims to go after it, to possibly get it garnished from its wages or however else the court does it. I don't know exactly because it never happened to me, but it's definitely worth finding out where they're going. Also, you need to notify them within 10 or 15 days, I think, in Florida about their security deposit and what's going to happen to it.
Oh, so it's a time is of the essence to find someone.
Yeah, a lot of times it's like, hey, I'm keeping your security deposit. If you don't send them an official mail or letter about what's happening to their security deposit, they can come back and, hey, you never gave me your security deposit after even a year, and they'll be like, I didn't know where you were. It doesn't matter anymore. Now you're in the hole by renovations and in the hole by a security deposit. You could probably fight it in court, but good luck. No. So, what's the legal way to screen a potential tenant in Florida and avoid discrimination claims?
Sure. Some states have blocked the box where they're starting to phase out criminal background checks altogether. Florida does not have that. So here in Florida, the most important thing is to do the FCRA compliant report. That is all that's needed. Of course, I'm not an attorney, but my understanding is if you do the FCRA report, get their consent, which we provide the consent link for, and we are only checking what's allowed under FCRA, you are covered.
Okay. So, what other types of background reports can real estate pros tap into beyond credit checks?
So we have a different background report that is non-FCRA compliance. No consent is needed, and we can check a lot more things. I'll give you some examples. We can check arrests as far back as records go, regardless of conviction. So if they've been arrested for assault, they've been arrested for murder, but not convicted, it's still going to show on the report. We're going to see, of course, address history, vehicles, and do they own the vehicle or do they lease it? We're going to see all the properties that they've owned, and what's the corresponding mortgage information, bankruptcies, liens, judgments, foreclosures, evictions, bankruptcies, businesses, UCC filings, professional licenses. It's a thumbnail sketch of a person, a great background check. If you're going to take on a real estate investor, this is the type of report that I would recommend that you start with.
On the investor or on the tenant?
On the investor.
On the investor. Okay, let's talk a little bit about that because that sounds really interesting. So you're looking to partner up with someone. Let's say there's a wholesaler and you say, hey, I want to buy that property. Find out anything about that wholesaler because it's a cash deal. They're signing you the contract. You have no idea. It is going to go probably through a title company, but if it's a quit claim, it's just signing papers and then you inherit all the troubles of the property as well. Tell me a little bit more about what would you do in this instance and how would you vet the potential partner or anybody else like that?
Yeah, beyond looking at, that's where you start, looking at criminal bankruptcies, liens, judgments, foreclosures, evictions, properties, vehicles. But maybe we want to look further. Maybe we want to build a dossier on the person. What's being said about this person online? Has anyone complained about him? Has anyone said they've been a victim of a fraud or scam with this person? Have they been sued before? Are they themselves litigious against previous partners? What's their life like on social media? Do they have extreme views on anything? All of this goes into a dossier that we will build as part of a phase 2 due diligence.
This is amazing that you guys can do that. And because I'm in the stage in my career where I am overwhelmed alone in a lot of my business. I own more than one business. I have about 5 businesses right now, and always looking to partner if possible to take some of the weight off my shoulder and put it on someone else. And I never thought that a company like yours could vet my partners in like the way you're saying, because that makes a lot of sense. You're going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars with someone. You should know everything about that person before you go into business. And it's not just sitting down, having a coffee and, oh, I'm a good personal judgment of a character. Because I am. I think I've met a lot of people. I've done a lot of deals in my life. I think I'm a good judgment of character. But that 30-minute or an hour lunch won't really get you the information that you really need, because everybody could show a different face for 30 minutes to an hour.
Of course, you need to look at the data. This is what we do. Yeah. And unfortunately, a lot of our best clients are the ones who have been taken advantage of in the past.
Yeah. And they came to you saying that, oh, you do this. So any new partners I'm thinking about taking on, let's do a really thorough, let's build a dossier on the person before give you the dossier. It's like, I can hold off our merger or our joint venture for another week or two until the dossier is ready. I don't know. How long does something like this take, by the way?
Let's see. So a FCRA report can take 2 or 3 days. A comprehensive background report, the no consent needed, takes about 2 days. A deep dive dossier building due diligence exercise can take a week or longer.
Okay, so let's say you're planning on partnering on a joint venture with some new guys you've met, whatever convention, let's say, not a bar. And you're like, hey, this is a good real estate deal. Let's figure this out together. Let's get into this. Everything's good. I won't sign paperwork for another 2 weeks because I have other things going on in my life. You could push it a week or two and get a dossier on these people before you go into a joint venture and then read about them and say, okay, do I really want to go into business with these guys or not? But it will uncover good things too, wouldn't it? Like a deep dive.
Yeah. Again, I would say every situation is different, but if you feel comfortable, I would suggest we need a few days to do our due diligence on you. Is there anything that we should know?
Okay, so you disclose.
You don't have to.
You don't have
You
to.
don't have, but I think it's a good vetting tool.
For sure, because then they'll be like, okay, let's take a step back. Okay, I'm clean, I think, or not. And then you'll see the phone not ringing anymore, like every hour about getting into the deal.
Exactly.
Suddenly, oh, now that I said that we're going to do a little background search on the person, now he's not showing up anymore.
Look, I sleep well at night. I'm sure you do too. I have nothing to hide. And that's the type of person you want to go into business with nothing to hide. So I can't imagine a situation where you would not want to tell someone you're going to look into the background a little bit when a lot of money is involved. It's showing that you're a responsible business person. They should appreciate that, if anything.
Oh, for sure. And they might implement that strategy down the line themselves.
Sure.
The thing is that I really like what we're talking about right now. I like talking about this and opening it up to other people because I didn't think about this before. And I think I'm not the only one that didn't think about this before. I think there's a lot of people out there in my world, in the real estate world, we don't think about this. We just like, oh yeah, it's a good deal. Boom, let's go, let's do it. And then 95% of the time or 99% of the time it's okay and it goes well, but then there's that 1% that it's going to go downhill and they run away with a couple million of your dollars and you're like, holy cow, I should have done that background research on this person. Now he's in the Bahamas or wherever spending my money. No,
especially when you find out later after you've been taken advantage of that there's something relatively easy to find in the person's background had you just looked.
Yeah, correct. Because usually if we're talking about the sums that are in real estate, not like $5,000, $10,000, because that's small compared to what we are dealing with in real estate a lot of times, then they've probably done it before.
Yeah.
Because we're not talking about a person that's trying to, I don't even know how you call it, defraud you, or Four Horsemen. What do they do? The movie. Have you seen the movie Four Horsemen? It's the magicians that, oh, I forgot the term for it, but swindler, maybe they swindle you. Yeah.
Sure.
So that is the thing. Like a swindler, if they done it, on a $1,000 scale, then a 5,000, they scale up and higher. So there is a track record for that person, probably, if we're talking real estate already. So it's a really good hint, guys. It's also a golden nugget. Do a background check on your possible partners. I think
Yeah.
it's well worth it. What are some unexpected things private investigators can do to help real estate professionals? We just talked about one. Is there anything else?
If you have a if you have a property that you cannot find the owner for, and you're interested in the property for whatever reason, and they're hard to find, we have done that before.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Wholesalers, real estate agents, guys out there, there's always that buyer that comes, oh, I'm really interested in that property. And nobody's lived there for 10 years. You don't know who the owner is. You can't, the records don't show. They show that address as the address for the owner. So here's the opportunity to find that owner. And you don't have to do, I don't know how many hours of exploring and figuring out how to find an owner. You could hire a company to do that for you. That's awesome. That's a great thing. That's a great tool to help agents and investors. That's amazing. Thanks.
Yeah, of course. Other than on top of my head, I can't think of anything else on the real estate side, but I think there's a lot of good stuff there.
So what should every landlord be doing before they hand over the keys?
Run that FCRA report. And I'll tell you the way we do it is we have a little form that we send to our landlords, and they put in the candidate's name and the email address. And then we email the candidate an online consent link that's secure, and they fill in all of their own personal identifiable information, PII. I like that because the old way we used to do it many years ago was a possible tenant would write down their information, give it to the landlord would type it into an email. There are many ways for mistakes to happen. Either you can't read the handwriting or something gets transposed. I like our system a lot. So once you have the potential candidate, you send them the consent link, they fill out their information, we run the background report, make sure you run credit. The criminal is not enough. You have to, when anytime money is involved for any reason, got to run credit. It's a soft hit, but it's critical. And that's the most important thing. You have to background check your potential tenants. How can you not? And it's inexpensive. So how can you not do it?
A side question on this. Let's say you pull the credit for the tenant, and the tenant goes to the next place. He gets denied in one place for they found a better candidate, let's say. Not because he was not good, but you found a better one. Then he can go to the next place and they pull his credit. Is it like a mortgage that you have a month to pull the credit multiple times, or every single time they pull it, it's a soft pull?
Every time they pull it, my understanding is a soft pull.
Okay. Just wanted to know that. I didn't know about that. Marc, you've opened our eyes to what real due diligence really looks like. In markets where one bad tenant can cost you thousands, your insights are not just helpful, they're essential. For everyone listening, if you want to protect your investments and get peace of mind before your next lease, head over to www.xinvestigations.com. You can follow Marc at X Investigations on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Don't forget to subscribe and share this episode with every landlord and property manager. We'll see you next time on the Real Estate Roundtable. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us on Sir Lancelot's Real Estate Roundtable, where we've unveiled the mysteries of real estate together. Remember, in this kingdom of possibilities, every dream home is just a discussion away. I can help your real estate dreams come true. Just call me at 786-449-7518. Until our next roundtable, may your ventures be prosperous and your homes be filled with love and joy. Farewell, fellow knights of real estate.